My name is Abigail Turner, and for almost an entire year after my mother died, I believed she had chosen my sister over me. Completely. Not emotionally. Legally. Financially. Entirely. According to the will, everyone saw my older sister Vanessa inherited nearly everything. The house, the investment accounts, the jewelry, the vacation property in Vermont. Even the antique piano my mother once promised would someday belong to me. And me? I received a handwritten letter and $10,000. That was it. After spending 12 years taking care of our mother through Alzheimer's disease, after sacrificing relationships, career opportunities, and most of my 40s, apparently that was all I was worth. At least, that's what I believed. Until I discovered my sister had been hiding something for years. Something so devastating. It completely changed the way I understood my mother, my family, and almost every memory from my childhood. Before I tell you how my own sister manipulated our dying mother and nearly destroyed our entire family, make sure to subscribe. Because some betrayals don't begin with greed. They begin with resentment that quietly grows for decades. I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut with my mother Eleanor and my sister Vanessa. Our father died when I was 9 years old. A drunk driver crossed the center line during a snowstorm. Just like that, everything changed. My mother became emotionally harder after his death. Not cruel. Just distant, exhausted, constantly worried about money. Vanessa responded by becoming ambitious, driven, competitive. I responded by becoming accommodating, helpful, quiet. Even as children, our roles inside the family became very clear. Vanessa was the achiever. I was the caretaker. Teachers praised Vanessa's intelligence constantly. Meanwhile, people praised me for being sweet. At the time, I didn't realize how dangerous that dynamic would eventually become. Because families often reward responsibility by quietly expecting endless sacrifice from the responsible child. Vanessa left home at 18 for Columbia University. I stayed nearby, partly because of finances, partly because I couldn't imagine leaving mom alone emotionally after dad died. For years, Vanessa built an impressive corporate career in Boston. Meanwhile, I became a physical therapist, married young, divorced young, and slowly drifted into becoming mom's primary support system. Then came the diagnosis. Early-stage Alzheimer's. Mom was 72. At first, symptoms were manageable. Forgetfulness. Confusion. Repeated stories. But gradually the disease consumed more and more of her mind. And as it worsened, my life slowly stopped belonging entirely to me. I reduced work hours. Canceled travel plans. Ended relationships, missed birthdays, skipped holidays. I became caregiver first, person second. Anyone who has cared for someone with dementia understands this transformation. Your identity slowly disappears without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, Vanessa visited occasionally, very occasionally, usually with expensive gifts and dramatic emotional speeches about family. Then she'd return to Boston, back to her real life. At first, I tried not to resent her. People cope differently, I told myself. But over time, bitterness quietly grew, because while Vanessa sent flowers, I was changing adult diapers at 2 a.m. While she attended executive retreats, I was calming mom during panic episodes when she no longer recognized her own house. And perhaps worst of all, mom still idolized Vanessa. Even deep into the illness, "She's so successful," mom would whisper proudly during lucid moments. Meanwhile, my sacrifices became invisible because they were constant. That happens often inside families. Reliability becomes expectation, not appreciation. Then came the financial changes. About 3 years before mom died, Vanessa suddenly became intensely involved in legal planning, trust updates, estate meetings, asset reviews. At first, I welcomed the help. I was exhausted, burned out, emotionally drowning. But gradually, things started feeling strange. Vanessa insisted on handling attorney communication privately. She discouraged me from attending certain meetings because I was already overwhelmed. And whenever I asked questions, she became defensive immediately. "You think I'm trying to steal something," she snapped once. At the time, I felt guilty for even wondering. That guilt would later haunt me. One afternoon, mom grabbed my hand unexpectedly during a lucid moment. "Don't let Vanessa pressure me," she whispered. Then, just minutes later, she forgot the conversation entirely. But I didn't. Something inside me shifted that day. Quietly. Permanently. Still, by the time mom passed away, I was emotionally shattered. Caregiver grief is complicated. You begin mourning someone long before death actually arrives. Then, when death finally comes, you feel sadness, relief, guilt, exhaustion, and emptiness simultaneously. The funeral itself felt surreal. People praised me endlessly for taking care of Mom. But somehow, every compliment made Vanessa colder. I noticed it immediately. Then came the will reading. I remember sitting inside that attorney's office feeling numb from exhaustion. Then, hearing the estate distribution. Everything to Vanessa. Almost everything. I genuinely thought there had been some mistake. The attorney avoided eye contact while reading. Vanessa remained strangely calm. Too calm. Meanwhile, I sat frozen in disbelief. Not because I expected wealth, because the decision made no emotional sense. Mom always promised fairness. Always. Afterward, Vanessa hugged me awkwardly and said, "Mom trusted me to manage things responsibly." Manage things. As though I were some unstable outsider instead of the daughter who gave up 12 years caring for her. That night I cried harder than I had during Mom's funeral. Not because of money, because I genuinely believed my mother valued me less. That belief broke something inside me. Over the following months, Vanessa became increasingly controlling regarding estate matters. She delayed inventory reviews, restricted access to certain documents, sold items quickly, and somehow always had explanations ready. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Almost a year after Mom's death, I found hidden letters inside the antique piano Mom once promised me. Letters addressed to me, dozens of them. Some old, some recent, some written during early Alzheimer's decline. And inside those letters, the truth finally emerged. Vanessa had been manipulating Mom emotionally for years, pressuring her constantly, convincing her I was financially irresponsible, claiming I resented caregiving, suggesting I planned to take advantage of Mom emotionally. The letters shattered me. But one letter shattered me most of all. It was written only 6 months before Mom died. And in shaky handwriting, Mom wrote, "Abigail, if you ever read this, please know I was confused much of the time. Vanessa keeps telling me I already signed papers I don't remember signing. I'm scared to argue because she gets angry." I physically stopped breathing reading that sentence. Scared. My mother was scared. The woman I spent 12 years protecting had been emotionally manipulated while cognitively vulnerable, and I never fully saw it happening. The guilt nearly crushed me. I immediately contacted an attorney specializing in elder financial abuse. The investigation that followed uncovered horrifying details. Vanessa had isolated Mom strategically during legal meetings, used selective medical scheduling, directed attorney communication privately, and repeatedly leveraged Mom's confusion during document revisions. Worst of all, several estate modifications occurred during periods where Mom's neurologist documented severe cognitive decline. The legal battle lasted nearly 2 years. 2 exhausting years of medical reviews, forensic financial analysis, and family destruction. Vanessa denied everything, then blamed stress, then blamed me. According to her, I was jealous because she became more financially successful, but evidence slowly dismantled her narrative piece by piece. The final hearing remains burned into my memory forever. When Mom's handwritten letters were read aloud in court, even Vanessa looked shaken. One line especially destroyed the room emotionally. "Abigail gave me love when I no longer remembered how to love myself." I started crying instantly. So did several people inside the courtroom, including the judge. The court ultimately invalidated major portions of the revised estate documents. The assets were redistributed more fairly. But honestly, by then money barely mattered anymore. Because the real loss was realizing how deeply resentment poisoned my sister long before Mom died. We haven't spoken in 3 years now. And sometimes I still grieve that relationship almost as much as I grieve Mom. Because despite everything, Vanessa was once my best friend. Before competition, before resentment, before money-complicated love. Today I live quietly in Vermont. Ironically, inside the very vacation property Mom once wanted both daughters to enjoy together. Every morning I drink coffee beside the lake and think about one painful truth. Families often mistake the strongest child for the child who needs the least protection. And sometimes, that child pays the highest emotional price. Before she died, Mom wrote one final sentence in her last letter to me. "The people who love quietly are often loved too little because everyone assumes they'll keep giving forever." I understand that now more than ever. Have you ever sacrificed for family only to feel completely invisible afterward? Tell me in the comments below. And if this story touched you, please like and subscribe. Because sometimes inheritance battles are never really about money. Sometimes they're about years of unspoken pain finally exploding into the open.